The Desai family home in Monterey, California, glowed under a November dusk, its windows spilling golden light onto a porch adorned with rangoli patterns and flickering diyas. The air hummed with Diwali's vibrancy. Sizzling jalebis, the chime of ankle bells, and laughter from a sprawling family feast. Amara Desai, 37, stepped through the gate, her hands stained with indigo dye, cradling a hand-woven shawl shimmering with silver threads. A gift for the celebration. Her dark eyes held a cautious hope, softened by years of threading looms and dreams. Beside her, Kiran, her 16-year-old mentee, clutched a sketchbook filled with fabric designs, her shy gaze darting over the crowd. "This is so lively." "Ms. Amara," Kiran whispered, her voice barely rising above the tabla's beat. Amara's smile wavered. "Let's hope it feels that way," she murmured. "Same old shadows." His charming grin drawing aunts and cousins as he boasted about turning the family's textile shop into a digital empire. His silk kurta gleamed, his gestures grand. Amara's mother, Priya, fussed over Nikhil, adjusting his scarf like he was the festival's star. "Hi, Ma," Amara said, her voice clear but soft, offering a tentative wave. Priya's eyes flicked up, her nod fleeting before she turned back to Nikhil's tale of NFT fashion. The dismissal cut, sharp as a shuttle's snap. Kiran's voice broke through, small and uncertain. "Miss Amara, why don't we have seats?" Amara scanned the courtyard, tables laden with samosas and mithai, every chair filled with relatives swapping stories. Her chest tightened. No place for them. Priya caught her gaze and waved vaguely toward a wobbly stool by the kitchen door, its paint chipped from neglect. "Oh, Amara, you and Kiran can sit there," she said, her tone light, as if offering a throne. "It's cozier." Amara's heart sank, the shawl heavy in her hands. She set it on a table, its silver threads unnoticed among paper plates and spilled chai, and guided Kiran to the stool, its creak a quiet protest. A memory surged, vivid and raw. Amara, 23, in the textile shop, mending looms late at night, her savings covering repairs when sales slumped. Nikhil had skipped shifts, chasing art fairs and parties, yet her parents had praised his ambition at family dinners, their eyes gliding past her. "I've been there warp and weft," Amara thought, her voiceover steady but heavy. "Repairs, bills, late nights. But tonight, I'm just a thread they forgot to weave." Kiran opened her sketchbook, tracing a lotus design. But her eyes lingered on the festive tables. "Why don't they notice us?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Amara smoothed Kiran's braid, her fingers steady despite the ache within. "Some people only see what sparkles loudest," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She'd come for Diwali for Kiran, for the faint hope of belonging. But the courtyard's glow felt staged, its warmth reserved for others. Amara stayed, her resolve flickering but unbroken, the shawl a silent testament to a bond her family couldn't unravel. The textile shop in Monterey, California, was Amara Desai's sanctuary, its weathered walls lined with looms that hummed like heartbeats under the December morning light. The air carried the sharp tang of natural dyes, indigo, turmeric, madder root, blending with the ocean breeze slipping through an open window. Amara, 37, knelt beside Kiran, her 16-year-old mentee, guiding her hands on a petal loom as they wove a cotton scarf with lotus motifs. Kiran's brow furrowed, her fingers tentative but growing steadier. "Slow the shuttle, Kiran," Amara said, her voice calm, her dye-stained hands adjusting the warp. "Let the pattern breathe." The loom clacked softly, a counterpoint to the shop's new clutter, Nikhil's trendy fabrics, neon synthetics, and holographic prints stacked haphazardly, screaming for attention. Amara's phone buzzed on a nearby table, a text from her mother Priya. "Nikhil's in trouble. Help us." Another followed. "Please." "Amara, call." Amara's jaw tightened, her eyes staying on Kiran's work. "Nice tension," she said, ignoring the phone. "You're finding the rhythm." Nikhil's always been the flair, Amara thought, her voiceover heavy with memory. "Big ideas, no anchor." I stitched his tears, but I'm done now. Her mind drifted to a summer 5 years ago when she was 32, wiring $3,000 to cover Nikhil's debts from a failed pop-up shop in San Francisco. He'd promised a textile revolution, only to leave suppliers unpaid, his charm fading as Amara stepped in. Her savings drained to keep the shop afloat. Her parents, Priya and Anil, had called him innovative at a family picnic, their praise skimming past Amara's late nights dyeing fabrics to meet orders. The memory burned, echoing the Diwali feast last month where she and Kiran were relegated to a chipped stool, their presence as unnoticed as the shawl she'd woven. That evening, Amara walked to Monterey's town square, its cobblestones glowing under lantern-lit arches for a community meeting. The crowd, weavers, cafe owners, retirees, filled the open-air pavilion, their faces tense. The Desai textile shop, a cultural gem where locals learn to dye and weave, faced foreclosure. Priya stood beside Anil, her voice trembling as she addressed the crowd. Nikhil took a loan against the shop, she said, twisting her dupatta. For some digital fashion project. We didn't know until the bank sent notices. Anil's eyes met Amara's, pleading. You're practical, Amara, he said. We need you to negotiate with the bank. The crowd turned expectant, as if Amara were the town's weaver and fixer in one. Her stomach knotted, the weight of their gaze familiar yet suffocating. What kind of project? She asked, her voice steady but sharp. A councilwoman handed her a folder, loan documents detailing a $150,000 debt tied to a digital fashion NFT venture. Nikhil's name sprawled across the pages, and to Amara's horror, so did hers, scrawled as cosigner. Her hand shook as she scanned the papers. The ocean's distant roar doing little to cool her rising anger. The signature wasn't hers, too jagged, too rushed, but it bound her legally. He forged this, she said, her voice cutting through the crowd's murmurs. Priya's gaze dropped, Anil's shoulders slumped. I'll look into it, Amara said, her tone clipped, buying time to process the betrayal. Back in her small studio apartment, she spread the documents across her work table, the lamplight stark. The loan was a fiasco, high interest, no collateral, linked to a crashed NFT platform Nikhil had hyped as the future of fashion. The shop, her Aunt Leela's legacy, was now at risk, and Amara's forged signature made her liable. Fury surged. But so did a fierce clarity. Nikhil hadn't just endangered the shop, he'd stolen her name to do it. She drove to the Desai family's prayer room the next night. A small space adorned with brass lamps and marigold garlands for a post-Diwali ritual. The air was thick with sandalwood incense, diyas flickering against a mural of Saraswati. Nikhil stood near the altar, his silk kurta out of place among the mourners honoring Leela's memory. Priya and Anil sat cross-legged, their faces drawn. Amara didn't wait for greetings. She dropped the loan folder beside Nikhil, the thud sharp in the quiet. You forged my signature, she said, her voice low but searing. You put the shop and me in danger. Nikhil smirked, unfazed, his eyes glinting in the lamplight. You're the reliable one, Amara, he said, leaning back. It's no big deal. The bank bought it. Anil cleared his throat, staring at the floor. Priya murmured. Don't be selfish, Amara. This isn't the time. Amara's hands clenched, the old pattern repeating. Her work erased, Nikhil's recklessness excused. She thought of Kiran, sketching lotus designs at the shop, counting on her to be more than the family's doormat. This isn't selfish, she said, her gaze locked on Nikhil's. It's theft. She turned to her parents. And I'm done letting you pretend it's love. Priya's mouth opened but no words came. Amara walked out, the prayer room's heavy curtain swaying shut, the night's salt air sharp against her skin. She drove back to the shop, Kiran's scarf still on the loom, a reminder of what she was fighting for. Nikhil's forgery wasn't just a betrayal, it was a breaking point. Amara would protect herself and Kiran, no matter the cost to her family's fragile facade. The Monterey Community Center stood sturdy under a January sun, its stucco walls glowing against a sky brushed with cirrus clouds. Inside, the main hall thrummed with anticipation, packed with townsfolk, weavers with dye-stained hands, shopkeepers in aprons, families who'd learned to thread looms at the Desai textile shop for decades. Amara Desai, 37, stood at a wooden podium, her indigo-stained fingers gripping a folder of documents, her dark eyes steady despite the storm in her chest. The crowd's murmur softened as she began, her voice clear and resolute, slicing through the tension. "This shop is our tapestry," she said, her gaze sweeping the room. "Not a gamble for someone's ego. I won't let it unravel under lies." Amara opened her folder, its contents a woven proof of Nikhil's betrayal. Shop ledgers detailing her payments for repairs and utilities, bank records showing she was at a textile symposium in Oakland during the loan signing, and a handwriting analysis confirming the forged signature, her name scrawled in Nikhil's hasty loops. A screen flickered behind her, projecting Kiran's photos of Amara's designs, intricate paisleys, lotus borders, sunset gradients, stitched into saris and scarves that defined the shop's soul. "I didn't sign that loan," Amara said, pointing to a timestamped symposium badge. "Nikhil did, using my name to fund a failed NFT scheme." The crowd stirred, nods from elders, whispers from artisans, the shop's cultural weight anchoring their resolve. It was where kids dyed their first fabrics, where retirees wove stories into shawls. Amara's evidence was their shield. The hall's glass doors swung open, and Nikhil strode in, his silk kurta sharp against the casual crowd, his grin a practiced charm. "Amara," he called, his voice booming with false ease. "This drama's a bit much, don't you think?" Heads turned, doubt flickering in some eyes. Nikhil faced the crowd, arms wide. "I'm modernizing Leela's legacy, digital fashion, global reach. Amara's just jealous, trying to steal the spotlight." Gasps rippled, a few nodding at his charisma. Amara's pulse pounded, but she stood firm, her hands steady on the podium. "Your legacy?" she said, her voice low but cutting. "You forged my name to risk the shop for a scam." Nikhil's laugh rang out, too smooth. But before he could spin another tale, Kiran, 16, stepped forward, her small frame fierce, clutching Leela's old sketchbook, its pages yellowed but vibrant. "Ms. Amara built this shop's heart," Kiran said, her voice quivering but strong, holding up a sketch of a peacock feather pattern credited to Amara's teenage hand. "You can't unravel her." The crowd erupted, claps, cheers. A few jeers aimed at Nikhil. Kiran's photos, passed through the front row, showed Amara dyeing fabrics late at night, her designs the shop's backbone. A local reporter snapped pictures, her pen racing. Nikhil's grin faltered, his eyes darting to the door. Amara clicked to her final slide. A bank email voiding the loan for fraud, citing the forged signature. The hall roared. But the victory was fragile. The shop's overdue bills loomed, demanding new funds. As the meeting ended, Amara's phone buzzed with texts from her parents, Priya and Anil. "Why humiliate us? You're disloyal. Come talk, we're family." The blame stung, sharper than the dye on her hands, but Amara didn't waver. She stayed, shaking hands with neighbors who thanked her, their woven bracelets a contrast to her family's cold words. "I didn't unravel us," she thought, her voiceover soft but unyielding. "I just stopped mending their flaws." Later, in the shop's quiet dye room, Amara sorted through Leela's old tools, her hands tracing a loom's worn shuttle. A small cedar box tucked beneath a pile of warped threads felt heavier than expected. She lifted its lid, her breath catching at a folded letter, Leela's elegant script bold on the page. Inside, a notarized note named Amara the shop's sole heir, dated weeks before Leela's death. A personal letter read, "Weave your own story, Amara. You've always been my true thread." Tears welled as she clutched the letter, its weight a lifeline. Leela had seen her late nights, her quiet sacrifices, her love for textiles when her family had turned away. Nikhil's lies had pushed her to this edge, but Leela's truth gave her strength to stand. The letter's words wove a legacy Amara could still claim, not for her family, But for Monterey, Kieran's courage, the town's support, the shop's scented air, they were her foundation now. Amara rose, the letter pressed to her chest, her resolve a quiet flame. Her family's anger and Nikhil's fall were heavy, but she wouldn't carry their burden anymore. She'd fight for the shop. For Kieran, for the story Leela had seen in her all along. February's gentle light filtered through the open windows of the Desai textile shop in Monterey, California, where the hum of looms and the tang of natural dyes filled the air. Amara Desai, 37, stood in the shop's courtyard, her indigo-stained hands directing a team of artisans arranging new dye vats under a canopy of bougainvillea. The shop was evolving into a weaving cooperative, a vibrant hub for local youth and artisans to craft textiles and stories. Kieran, her 16-year-old mentee, wove a vibrant shawl on a nearby loom, her sketchbook open to a design of monsoon clouds. "This place feels alive, Ms. Amara," Kieran said, her eyes sparkling. Amara's heart lifted, her dark eyes reflecting the courtyard's energy. "Leela knew family was who weaves with you," she thought. Her voiceover warm and resolute, "Not who claims your threads." The cooperative was Amara's answer to the shop's near collapse, a legacy rooted in community rather than Nikhil's hollow schemes. Monterey had rallied, fisherfolk donated indigo from coastal harvests, weavers offered looms, and families enrolled their teens in workshops. Ms. Rao, a local weaver with silver-streaked hair, hauled in baskets of madder root, her wry smile a steady anchor as she teased Kieran about her bold patterns. But amid the progress, a postcard arrived from Amara's parents, Priya and Anil. Its edges scented with Priya's rosewater. "Join us for lunch," it read. "Let's heal." Amara's chest tightened, a flicker of hope stirring despite Nikhil's forgery and her parents' blame at the community meeting. Maybe they'd acknowledge her now. With Kieran's encouraging nod, she went. The Desai family home felt heavy, its dining room thick with the aroma of saffron rice and unspoken tension. Nikhil sat at the table, his once grand kurta replaced by a faded shirt, his charm dimmed but persistent. Priya and Anil flanked him, their smiles forced. "Amara," Priya began, her voice soft, "we want to move forward as family." Before Amara could speak, Nikhil leaned in, his grin strained. "Your cooperative's buzzing, huh? I inspired that, pushed you to dream bigger, like I always did." Amara's breath caught, disgust rising sharp and cold. He hadn't inspired her, he'd forged her name, risked her legacy, and stood by as her parents dismissed her. Anil nodded as if Nikhil's lie held truth. "We're proud of you both," he said. "Blind to the theft." Amara pushed her chair back, it scraped loud against the hardwood. "You didn't inspire me," she said, her voice low but unwavering. "You tore what I wove. And I'm done pretending it's love." Priya's eyes widened, Anil's hands froze on his chai mug, but no one spoke. Amara walked out, the screen doors creak a final note. The ocean breeze cooled her face, carrying the scent of salt and kelp. She drove back to the cooperative where Kieran and Ms. Rao were dyeing fabrics under lantern-lit arches. "How'd it go?" Kieran asked, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. Amara shook her head, her smile steady. "Not my family anymore. This is." In the cooperative studio, Amara framed Leela's letter on the stucco wall, its words, "Weave your own story, Amara," a testament to her worth. Ms. Rao secured the frame, her nod a quiet affirmation. Kieran added a small woven lotus beside it, her fingers smudged with dye. The cooperative wasn't just a shop. It was a family, built with those who saw her. Amara looked out at the courtyard, looms clacking, fabrics vibrant, artisans laughing. Her family's shadow faded here. She was threading something true, and that was enough. 9 months later, the weaving cooperative in Monterey, California, flourished under a June sky, its courtyard aglow with lantern-lit arches framing artisans at work. Looms clacked rhythmically, weaving vibrant saris and scarves, while the air carried the tang of indigo and the murmur of laughter. Amara Desai, 37, stood by a dye vat, her indigo-stained hands steady, her dark eyes warm as she watched Kieran, her 16-year-old mentee, teach a group of teens to thread a loom. Kieran's voice, now confident, guided their hands, her braids swinging as she demonstrated a paisley pattern. That morning, the town had unveiled a mural on the cooperative stucco wall. Amara Desai, weaver of dreams, its colors curling like threads in a tapestry. Amara's heart swelled, not with pride, but with the quiet certainty of belonging. I thought family was who you're tied to, she thought. Her voiceover soft and sure. Now I know it's who you weave with. A teenage girl, her hands smudged with madder root, pointed to the framed letter from Leela, mounted in the studio. What's that, Ms. Amara? She asked, her eyes curious. Amara's smile deepened, her fingers brushing the frame's teak edge. It's about weaving what matters, she said, her voice carrying a truth earned through loss. The girl nodded, returning to her loom, as if the words had settled into her threads. A memory flickered. Amara, 14, dyeing fabrics with Leela in the shop. Their laughter mingling with the splash of turmeric dye, Leela calling her, my true weaver. Back in the present, her gaze softened, anchored by that bond. Her phone buzzed, a text from Nikhil, sorry. Amara. Can we talk? The words were thin, a hollow gesture. She deleted it, her fingers calm, and turned to Kieran and Ms. Rao, who was sorting cotton skeins nearby. The courtyard stretched before her, looms humming, fabrics vibrant, artisans weaving under arches, the mural glowing in the sun. Kieran waved, her sketchbook tucked under her arm while Ms. Rao's nod was a quiet pillar of support. Amara didn't need her family's validation anymore. Her parents' silence since the lunch, Nikhil's vague apology, they were echoes of a past she'd outwoven. She wasn't unseen. She was woven. The ocean breeze whispered, carrying the scent of kelp and dye. Amara stood still, the cooperative's pulse wrapping around her. The mural, the artisans. The threads, they were her legacy, shaped with those who stayed. I'm here, she thought, her voice over a whisper of triumph. And that's enough.